The stars shined quietly in the vast black sea when the great hall of the Galactic Council glowed to life once more. It was a place filled with light and sound, where beings from many worlds came together to speak and decide the future of the galaxy. And on this day the talk was about Earth, a young planet that had grown too fast for the liking of many. The Council had watched humans for many years. They saw them move from small fires to machines that touched the sky, and then to ships that reached the edge of their world. Some races wanted to welcome them, others wanted to keep them away, but now everyone agreed that contact could no longer be delayed. Commander Ilara Voss, a tall woman with calm silver eyes, stood before the Council. She was chosen to lead the peace envoy. Her voice was soft but steady when she spoke. She said that she believed humans would understand peace if shown the right way. Beside her stood Joran Lark, a scholar of alien cultures, and Kai Talon, a quiet pilot who had flown through more battles than he could count. The three of them had been chosen not for their strength, but for their patience and wisdom. The Council gave them one last warning. They said that humanity was clever, brave, and sometimes dangerous. Ilara nodded. She knew what that meant. The small ship they took was old, but built for peace. It had no weapons and no shields. Only trust. They left the grand world of the Council and traveled through silent darkness until the small blue planet appeared below them. Earth was beautiful, like a jewel, half covered by clouds, half shining in the light of the sun. From above it looked peaceful, but Ilara could see lines of heat and movement across the surface, armies training ships patrolling. Skies filled with machines. She whispered that this was not a world at peace when their ship entered orbit. Earth's systems noticed them at once. Alarms rang across command centers. Radars caught the unknown object the people of Earth had seen. Many strange things, but never one like this. General Marcus Hale, who led the Global Defense Force, stared at the screen and gave orders for no one to attack. Yet he wanted to know what it was. He wanted to see if it was a friend or a foe at the same time. Diplomat Lydia Blake sat in a tall glass building in New York. She received the same report and sent a message to the president saying that they should open a channel for communication. She said this might be the day humanity had waited for. Ilara tried to send a peaceful message. She said they came from the Galactic Council. They wished to bring friendship and knowledge. Her words were kind, but the sound of her voice reached only static on Earth. The systems failed to read the alien code. Some thought it was a threat. Others thought it was a test. General Hale ordered that all defense units remain ready. The sky filled with silent tension. Ilara and her team tried again. They sent lights and signals using mathematics to show peace. The humans answered with a radar pulse that came close to the envoy ship. Joran looked worried. He said they might think we are invaders. Ilara said, "Then we must show them. We are not the humans." Sent a drone closer. It flew around the envoy ship, taking images of every inch. The envoy did not move. They stayed still to show no harm. But to the humans, that silence looked strange. It looked like hiding something. So a group of fighter jets were sent to fly around the alien craft. They made a circle. In the sky, a warning dance. Kai watched the screens and said, "They are scared but ready to fight." He could see the courage in the way they moved. Ilara said, "Humans are brave. That is good. Maybe they will listen before they shoot below on Earth." Crowds gathered. News stations shouted words like alien contact and invasion. The world held its breath as governments argued about what to do. Some leaders wanted to talk. Others wanted to shoot. President Daniel Royce listened to both sides and said, "We must not be the first to start a war." He ordered a signal to be sent using simple tones of light to say welcome. Ilara saw the message and smiled. She replied in the same pattern, saying, "Peace." Joran sighed with relief. He said, "Maybe now they will understand." But before peace could grow, something else happened. A private satellite company tried to scan the alien ship with a strong energy beam. It was harmless, but it looked like an attack. The envoy ship responded by raising a shield of light, not to fight, but to protect itself. That one flash made every defense system on Earth think war had begun. Missiles were locked. Jets turned ready, and General Hale gave the order to hold, but his hand shook. Ilara watched the signals. She felt the fear growing like a fire. She opened the channel again and said, "We do not fight. We come in peace." But Earth did not hear her. The sky was full of warnings. The people of Earth had never seen such a ship. They had never felt so close to the unknown. Lydia Blake called the president again. She said, "This is fear not war. If we shoot now, we may end all chance of peace." So the president waited. He told the world to stand down for 1 hour. Alara used that hour to lower the shield and send a clear image of herself. She appeared on screens across Earth. Her face calm, her voice soft, she said, "We are not gods. We are not conquerors. We are travelers who wish to share peace." People watched her across cities and deserts and oceans. Some believed her, some did not. Children pointed at the sky and smiled. Soldiers waited with fingers on triggers and hearts full of questions. Alara looked down at the blue planet and whispered that humans are not what the Council thinks they are. She said they are. Afraid because they have fought too many wars, but there is something else in them. Something powerful. Joran asked what that was, and she said, "Hope and danger." The envoy decided to stay in orbit waiting for Earth to answer. The Council watched from far away, silent and uncertain. They feared what might happen next. Alara sat in her chair staring at the blue light of the world below and wondered if peace was even possible between such different hearts. The silence of space grew deep again. The stars looked down as if they too were waiting for humanity to speak their answer. The morning after the alien ship appeared, the world was no longer the same. Every country was awake. Every leader spoke and every army was ready. General Marcus Hale stood inside the command room watching the sky on a large screen. The alien craft was still there, silent and shining like a piece of light frozen above the clouds. The general did not sleep. He had been on duty for 2 days. His eyes were red but sharp. His team waited for his order. He told them to keep calm. He said that one mistake could start a war no one wanted. President Daniel Royce called him and said the Council of Nations had agreed that they must try again to speak before any action. Hale agreed, but he said that if the ship moved closer, he would not be able to stop. The defense systems he had to protect Earth in. Another place, Lydia Blake was busy inside the World Communication Center. She worked with scientists and linguists trying to find a way to decode the alien signal. They played the message again, and again it was soft and rhythmic, not random. She believed it was peaceful. She said if they had wanted to harm us, they would have done it already. She wanted to send back a message that said we wish to talk. She asked permission to do it. And after hours of argument, the president agreed he trusted her. She stood before the microphone and spoke clearly. She said, "We welcome you to Earth. We do not wish for war. Please answer us so we can understand, up in orbit." Alara heard the voice of Lydia. It was the first clear sound from Earth. She smiled and said at last, "They are speaking." She told Joran to record it. She told Kai to prepare a translation code so they could reply. Joran was excited. He said maybe peace was possible after all, but Alara looked cautious. She said, "Humans are not one, they are many, and that can be both their beauty and their danger." She sent her reply in the same rhythm and tone, saying, "They came to share peace and knowledge." She hoped it was simple enough for them to understand. Back on Earth, the signal came through clear and strong. The world saw the alien woman on screens again. Her words calm, her tone steady. She said she came with friendship and no weapons. General Hale watched and said she looked sincere, but we cannot take chances. He ordered that drones stay close but not attack Lydia. Argued, she said trust must start somewhere. Hale said trust does not win wars. Lydia said maybe it can stop one. They looked at each other, both knowing they were right, in different ways. Over the next hours, the world tried to decide what to do. Some nations wanted to welcome the visitors with open arms. Others feared they were spies. Some thought it was all a trick from another country. News channels filled with arguments. People in the streets carried signs saying peace from the stars. Others shouted to shoot them down. The world was divided yet curious. Alara and her team watched all this unfold. They saw the signals of news and broadcasts they did not need translation to see the fear on the human faces. Alara said we must show them something they can trust. Joran suggested giving them a small gift, something harmless like technology or medicine. But Alara shook her head. She said they must first trust our words before our gifts. Kai said, "Humans respect strength. Maybe we should show them what we can do without hurting them." Ilara thought about it and said, "Maybe we can show light." She ordered the ship to project a small energy wave into the clouds. It made a soft light that danced across the sky over the Atlantic Ocean. It was beautiful. Like a second dawn, people saw it from the ground. They gasped, and many felt wonder, but the military saw it as a test, a show of power. General Hale slammed, his hand on the table. He said, "They are warning us." Lydia said, "No, they are showing they mean no harm," but Hale was not sure. The president called a special meeting. He asked his generals and scientists what they knew. No one had answers. One scientist said the energy was clean, it caused no harm, only light. The president said, "Then we hold fire." He told Hale to prepare but not to attack. He told Lydia to arrange a direct talk. Face to face, the people of Earth waited again for what would come next. The Envoy ship received a new signal. It was simple and careful, asking for a meeting. Ilara agreed. She said, "We will meet, but only where we both feel safe." So they chose a place in orbit, a neutral station built years ago for research. It was small, but secure. Both sides sent small teams. General Hale did not go himself, but sent Commander Ryan Cole, a man who knew both war and peace. Lydia also went to represent diplomacy. She was nervous but brave. As she entered the shuttle, her hands shook. She whispered that this could be history. When they reached the station, the alien envoy was already there. Ilara waited with Joran and Kai behind her. Lydia stepped inside the room. First, her eyes met Ilara's. They both smiled, though they did not share. A language, yet a translator device, helped bridge the gap. Ilara spoke slowly, saying, "Welcome, friend." Lydia answered, "Thank you for coming." They looked at each other as if studying two mirrors from different worlds. Ilara offered a small crystal. It glowed faintly. She said, "This is a sign of peace. It holds no weapon." Lydia took it carefully and said, "This will mean a lot to our people." She placed her hand over her heart. Ilara mirrored the gesture. Both sides relaxed a little. The room was filled. With quiet breath, Joran and Ryan began to exchange simple data about the ships, their power, their purpose, nothing secret. Only to show trust. But when the Council on Earth saw the report, they grew uneasy. Some feared the alien power could outmatch human technology. Others said they should learn from it quickly. General Hale received the update and told his officers to prepare for any sudden move. He said, "Peace is good, but readiness is better." As hours passed, Ilara spoke with Lydia about humanity. She said, "Your people are strong and brave, but also restless." Lydia said that was true. She said, "Humans dream fast and fear faster." Ilara said, "That is why the Council is afraid of you. They think you will grow beyond control." Lydia looked at her and said, "Maybe we already have." Ilara smiled and said, "Maybe that is what makes you dangerous and beautiful at the same time." Outside the station, the stars drifted silently, and the blue earth shined beneath them. Ilara looked at it and thought about how small yet powerful this world was. She wondered if peace would hold or if fear would break it. Soon she knew humans could build wonders but also destroy everything when they felt cornered. As the meeting ended, both sides agreed to stay in contact. They promised no harm would come from either side. But when Lydia and Ryan returned to Earth, the Council of Nations demanded more answers. They wanted to know the limits of alien power. They wanted to see if humanity could stand equal, or if they would always be at risk. Ilara watched their ship leave and whispered to Joran that peace had begun. But it was a fragile one. She said, "They will test us again." And soon. Joran asked what they would do if the humans turned against them. Ilara said then, "We will learn what kind of heart they truly have." She looked once more at the bright blue sphere below and said, "The future of the galaxy might depend on them." And that was both hope and terror. The news of the first meeting spread fast across Earth and through the stars. Every screen, every radio, every person spoke about the aliens and their ship. Some called them friends, others called them danger governments, argued scientists dreamed, soldiers waited. The world was full of questions, no one had answers yet. President Daniel Royce watched from his office, tired but calm. He told his people to stay patient. He said this was a time to listen. Not to fight, but he knew deep inside that peace could slip away like sand through fingers if fear grew too strong. General Marcus Hale met with his commanders. He told them the aliens were strong but not invincible. He said they had to prepare for the unknown. He ordered new defense plans. Silent but ready, he said. We hope for peace but prepare for war. Lydia Blake returned to her office. Her mind full of Alara's calm voice, she told her team that the aliens were not monsters. She said they wanted understanding, not control, but many of her own people did not believe her. They said aliens always had a secret reason no one trusted what they could not control. She sat by the window watching the night sky and whispered that maybe humans were the ones who needed to change first. Up in orbit, Alara and her team studied the human response. They watched news from Earth, saw soldiers marching, saw crowds cheering, saw others burning signs that said aliens go home. Joran said humans are divided. They fight among themselves. Alara said, that is how they grow, they argue to find truth. Kai said it makes them dangerous too, they can love and hate in the same breath. Alara said yes, but that is what makes them human. She sat quietly thinking about the next step the council had ordered. Her to continue talks, they said the humans must be guided slowly or not at all. They feared human aggression could spread beyond Earth. Alara did not fully agree, she believed fear could not build peace. She decided to ask for another meeting this time with their leader himself. She sent a message to President Royce saying we wish to speak directly, and he accepted. The second meeting was held again on the neutral station, but this time the air was heavy with tension. General Hale sent more guards. Lydia went again. She was nervous, but she felt it was right to go when the shuttle reached the station. Alara waited wearing a simple silver suit, no weapons, no armor. She bowed slightly as Lydia entered the room. The president appeared on a large screen behind her. His voice steady, he said, we thank you for your peace, but we must know your purpose. Alara replied, our purpose is understanding. We wish to learn about you, and to share knowledge that helps worlds grow together. The president asked, why now, why come to us? Alara said, because you are ready but not peaceful yet. You have strength that scares others and courage that inspires them. That is why the council watches you closely. The president frowned, he said, do they fear us? Alara said yes and no. They fear what you might become. She spoke of other worlds that had risen too fast and burned themselves. She said humanity stands at that edge. The president asked if they wanted control. She said no. Control, only cooperation. But Joran, who watched the data from his screen, whispered to Alara that human ships were moving near the meeting zone. She stayed calm and continued to speak, but her eyes showed worry. On Earth, General Hale had ordered a patrol of drones near the station. He said it was for safety, but deep down he wanted to test the alien sensors to see how they reacted. Lydia noticed the signals on her wrist display and whispered to him to stop. She said they might see this as threat. Hale said it was only precaution, but Alara's sensors caught it. She paused during her talk, her voice stayed calm, but she said, your ships are moving closer. We do not want misunderstanding. The president turned sharply to Hale, asking why. Hale said, we only protect our people. Alara said peace cannot live beside fear. The room went silent for a moment. The sound of machines filled the air. Lydia broke the silence. She said, maybe we can show trust through action. She looked at Alara and said, let us share something small. Something. True. Alara nodded. She took a small crystal from her pocket. It glowed softly. She said, this holds knowledge, a small part of what we are. She gave it to Lydia and said, keep it safe. Use it wisely. Lydia accepted it and said, maybe this is how peace begins back on Earth. Scientists examined the crystal. They found it was alive in a way it stored information through light patterns far beyond human data systems. It was safe but complex. Some said it was a gift. Others said it was a trick. Governments demanded to unlock it faster, but the scientists said it would take time. The crystal became a symbol, half of hope, half of fear. The news called it the heart of the stars. People gathered outside laboratories praying for peace or warning of doom. Alara watched from her ship. She saw how one small gift had split humanity again. She said, they are not ready, but they can learn. Joran said, the council will not like this. They will say you gave them power. Alara said, power means nothing without understanding. The Galactic Council did indeed send a message. They said the envoy had gone too far. They said humans could not be trusted. They ordered Alara to return, but she refused. She said peace cannot grow through fear. She said she would stay, until Earth made its choice. Joran stood by her, though he feared the Council's anger. Kai prepared the ship for possible retreat. He said, humans are unpredictable. Alara said, so are stars. Yet we live among them. Meanwhile on Earth, strange things began to happen. Military satellites detected energy spikes near the moon. It was not from the alien ship, it was from a hidden human test facility, trying to copy the alien energy signature. When Alara's sensors detected it, she feared the worst. She sent a message asking what they were doing, but there was no reply. General Hale learned of the experiment too late. He rushed to stop it, but the test had already started. A bright wave shot across space for a moment. The sky flashed, and all systems near the moon went dark. Alara's ship trembled under the force. The neutral station lost power. Alarms echoed everywhere. Lydia screamed as lights went out. Alara ordered emergency shields to protect the humans. Her ship glowed with blue light wrapping the station in a field until the storm passed. When the lights returned, everyone looked shaken. But alive, Lydia realized the aliens had saved them, not harmed them. She said to the president through the link, "They saved our people." The president looked at Alara and said, "We owe you." Alara said, "You owe only truth." When the station was safe again, Alara spoke quietly. She said, "This is why fear destroys peace. Your own power almost killed you." The president nodded. He said, "You are right, but fear is hard." To let go, he promised to stop all tests until they understood more. Lydia smiled and said, "Maybe peace can still live between fear and courage." Alara said, "Maybe it must, because that is where humanity walks, always between the two." As the meeting ended, Alara looked once more at the planet below. She said, "They are dangerous, but they are also wonderful. They stand at the edge of greatness and ruin." Joran asked if she still believed in peace. She said, "I believe in their heart, even if they do not understand it." Yet she turned to the stars and whispered that humanity's story had just begun, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The days after the power surge near the moon were heavy with silence. The humans repaired their systems, and the envoy ship stayed close, watching and waiting. Alara spoke little. She knew the council was angry. She had broken orders by staying, but she also knew she could not leave yet. Humanity was still learning what peace meant. The president sent messages of thanks. He said their help had saved many lives. Alara replied that they did what was right, but she warned him that the next mistake could bring something far worse than broken machines. Lydia worked day and night translating data from the crystal. It showed shapes of stars, maps of energy, and strange writings that looked like living light. The scientists said it was like a story, told through patterns. She said it was not just a gift, it was a lesson. General Hale visited her lab one evening and asked what she had found. She said she found beauty. He said he found danger. He told her to be careful because beauty often hides power. She smiled and said, "Maybe that is why humans always reach for it anyway." In the envoy ship, Joran studied the outer systems. He noticed something strange beyond the orbit of Mars, an object moving fast, too fast. He called Alara and showed her the readings. It was a massive rock, tumbling through space on a path that could pass close to Earth. At first they thought it was harmless, but then its course changed, slightly pulled by something unseen. Alara said, "This is not natural." The object was large enough to cause great damage if it hit the planet. She sent a quiet signal to Earth. Lydia received it and rushed to the president's office. She said, "There is danger coming from space." He thought it was a trick, but she showed the data. He called General Hale and ordered full scan. Within minutes, the global network confirmed it. An asteroid the size of a mountain heading toward them. Panic spread like fire across the world. People filled the streets praying, crying, searching for answers. The news called it the end of the world. Alara contacted Earth again. She said, "We can help if you trust us." The president looked at his generals. Some said yes. Others shouted no. They said the aliens might have caused it to gain control. Alara waited for their answer. Time slipping away, the asteroid growing closer. Finally, the president said, "We accept your help. Tell us what to do." Alara's team began their work. They mapped the path of the asteroid. They saw it would pass too near to miss. It could burn the skies, or worse, Alara told Joran to prepare a gravity beam. Kai said it was dangerous because it had never been used so close to a planet. Alara said there was no choice. She told Earth they would try to move the rock, but needed human power too. She said, "We must join together or both will fail." General Hale set up missile platforms on the far side of the planet to help shift its course. He said, "We will follow your lead." Lydia acted as the bridge between the two worlds. She carried messages between Alara and the human command. The pressure on her was great, but she did not stop. She believed this was the moment when trust would be tested. Hours passed. The asteroid grew closer. It was a dark shape, now visible even to human eyes. People stared at the sky in fear on the envoy ship. Alara took the controls. She focused the gravity beam and fired a line of blue light that stretched across space. The beam hit the asteroid, and the ship trembled under the strain. Alarm screamed. Joran shouted that the energy was too much. Alara said, "Hold it steady." Below on Earth, the human missiles fired burning lines through the dark. Together, light and fire danced across the void. The asteroid shuddered. Its path shifted a little, but not enough. They needed more power. Kai said, "We can use the engine field, but it will drain everything." Alara said, "Do it." The ship roared with light brighter than the sun for a heartbeat. The asteroid cracked and turned a few degrees. The missiles struck. Again, the rock began to break apart, pieces flying off into harmless dust. The danger was ending, but the ship's power failed. The systems went dark. It started to fall slowly toward Earth. Alara tried to restart controls, but nothing answered. On Earth, General Hale saw the alien ship dropping. He ordered rescue, but the range was too high. Lydia shouted through the comms for Alara to answer. There was silence. Then a weak voice said, "We are alive, but falling." Hale ordered his best pilots to launch. They reached the edge of the atmosphere and caught the alien craft with towing fields, dragging it safely to the upper orbit when the ship stopped moving. A wave of cheers filled the control rooms across Earth. The asteroid was gone. The world was safe. People cried and hugged each other for the first time in fear and hope. The name Alara spread across every news feed. She was called the savior of Earth. When Alara woke, she was inside the station. Lydia sat beside her, smiling. She said, "You saved us." Alara said, "No, we saved each other." Joran and Kai repaired the ship using parts from human engineers. They laughed together for the first time without fear. General Hale visited the station. He looked at Alara and said, "I was wrong about you." She said, "No, you were right to be careful, but now you see what trust can do." He nodded and said, "Maybe that is harder than war." She said, "Yes, but better too." Down on Earth, the president spoke to the world. He said, "We stood on the edge of destruction and found unity not through fear but through courage." He thanked the aliens for their help and promised that humanity would remember this day as the first step toward friendship across the stars. Crowds cheered, cities lit up with light for the first time in history. Every nation shared the same feeling of relief and wonder. But not all were calm. Some leaders whispered that the aliens had shown too much power. Some feared that peace made them weak again. The old shadows of suspicion began to grow quietly behind smiling faces. Alara watched from orbit. She saw the lights on Earth. She felt pride but also worry. She said to Joran, "They will celebrate now, but soon they will ask what comes next." He said, "Maybe they will learn to live without fear." She said, "Maybe, but fear is part of who they are. It can sleep, but it never dies." She looked at the stars and said, "Still, I believe in them. They are young and wild, but so is every great world." Once Joran smiled and said, "You sound like a human." She laughed softly and said, "Maybe I'm learning from them." Kai joined them and said, "The council will not forgive this. They broke every order." Alara said, "Then we will face them when they come, but not with fear." She looked again at the blue planet, below shining in the dark, and whispered, "They are not just survivors, they are builders. They will rise again, and when they do, the galaxy will change forever." The stars watched in silence as Earth glowed bright and alive beneath them. Weeks passed since the asteroid was destroyed, and the world was still healing. Cities repaired the damage to their systems, and people went back to their lives. But everything felt different. Humanity had looked at the stars and seen they were not alone. Alara and her crew stayed in orbit waiting for word from the Galactic Council. She knew their time was short. because she had broken too many rules to save Earth. Joran worried that the council would send ships. Kai said they might not forgive her, but Alara said if they come, then they will see what I saw, the strength of humanity below on Earth. President Royce called for a great assembly of nations. He wanted to speak for the whole planet. For the first time, he said they must decide how to face the galaxy. He invited Alara to speak before them. Through a link, she appeared before the leaders. Her calm eyes filled the room. She said, "We came to offer peace. And now we see what kind of hearts you have. You fight, but you also save you. Fear, but you also hope. Your world is not perfect, but it is alive, and that makes it special." She said the council will soon decide your place among the stars. Be ready, not with weapons, but with unity. Her words left the room silent. Many leaders felt pride, others fear. General Hale listened and thought about her bravery. He said to Lydia that the aliens trusted them more than they trusted themselves. She said, maybe that is the gift they left behind. Soon after that, the sky filled with new lights. The Galactic Council had arrived. Great ships of silver and gold stood far beyond the moon. They sent a message to Alara ordering her to surrender her ship and return for judgment. She refused. She said, I will not leave until I speak for Earth. Joran said they will destroy us. Alara said, then let them see who we stand for. She opened a channel to the council, her face calm, her voice firm. She said, I disobeyed because peace cannot be built on fear. I saw what these humans did. They saved not only themselves, but us too. They have the fire of creation in them. Do not treat them as children or enemies. Treat them as equals. The council did not answer right away. But Earth saw everything. The message was public. It spread across the world. People gathered in streets and squares watching the sky. They did not understand all the words, but they understood her courage. Lydia looked up and whispered, she speaks for us. The council's flagship sent another signal. They said humanity had shown both danger and promise. They would not invade, but they would not protect them either. Earth was free to rise or fall on its own. The decision was final. Alara felt relief. She turned to her crew and said, we have done it. Kai said, they will call you a traitor. Alara said maybe, but peace is worth the cost. The council ships turned and left one by one, fading into the dark, leaving only the Envoy ship above Earth. The world below erupted in celebration. Lights filled the sky. People cheered for the first time, not for victory in war, but for survival in peace. General Hale stood on the command deck watching the lights. He said, I never thought peace could look like this. Lydia said, maybe this is what winning really means. He nodded quietly. Alara met with the president one last time through a secure channel. She said, your people must be careful now. Others in the galaxy will come. Some will offer friendship. Others will test you. He said, we will be ready. She said, I believe that she told him that her ship would leave soon, but they would not be far if ever needed. Lydia joined the call and asked if they would meet again. Alara smiled and said the stars are wide, but paths often cross again. She thanked them both and ended the call. She sat in silence for a while, staring at the blue world below. She said they will surprise the galaxy one day. Joran said, do you think they will fight again? Alara said they will fight always, but maybe next time for something greater than fear. As the Envoy ship prepared to leave, humans sent a final signal. It was a song made of simple tones, a greeting and a goodbye. It played through space, soft and steady. Alara listened and closed her eyes. She said they learn fast. Kai smiled and said, faster than we can follow. The ship turned slowly away from Earth, engines lighting up the dark like falling stars from the ground. People looked up and waved, though they knew the aliens could not see them. They waved anyway. Children drew pictures of ships in the sky. Teachers told stories about the day the world almost ended and began again. News spoke of Alara as the woman who stopped the end of the world. The name became a legend. Months passed and the galaxy began to whisper about Earth. Some races said they were a danger, others said they were a hope. Traders began to send small ships near their orbit. Curious about the new world, governments worked together to create a Council of Earth, where every nation had a voice. It was not perfect, but it was a start. Lydia became the first ambassador to the stars. General Hale retired, saying he had seen enough war for one lifetime. The president said humanity would never kneel before fear again. He ordered that the old weapons be turned toward exploration, not destruction. People built new stations, new ships, and for the first time, they looked at the sky not with fear but with wonder. Far beyond the stars, Ilara sat inside her ship sending her final report to the Galactic Council. She said, "Humanity has begun to rise. They are like fire, uncontrolled but bright. They will not obey, they will not kneel. They will learn, they will build, and one day they will stand beside us, not as subjects, but as equals." She ended the message and looked at Joran and Kai. She said, "We will watch them grow, they will change us all." Joran asked if she was afraid. Ilara said, "No. I am proud because I have seen their heart, and it is stronger than fear on Earth." The song of peace still echoed through the night. People no longer spoke of aliens with terror but with hope. Children pointed at the stars and asked when the friends from the sky would come back. Lydia often stood by the window of the new embassy watching the stars. She wondered where Ilara was. She whispered that, maybe, they were watching still, and somewhere in the dark Ilara smiled as if she heard her. The ship drifted past the edge of light, leaving behind the blue world that had changed everything. And as it faded into the deep silent sea of stars, the galaxy waited, knowing that the humans would come one day, and when they did, nothing would ever be the same again.